Got pops? Father and son share words of wisdom.
All right, the first episode of Got Pops.
So yeah, I got pops, and I'm gonna share 'em with y'all. So my name is Calvin Mann the second. That's Calvin Mann the first, and this is my side or my perspective of our story, keeping it real raw. Um,
Yeah, you stay two man though. Let's keep you two man.
okay, yes sir. What I say, Calvin?
You don't want to go Calvin and Calvin, right? You know what I mean? But
Uh,
go ahead.
for sure, 2 man. So let's start from there. That's how I was named. My dad said I was too fly, too good, too awesome, 2 man. So my pops named me, and like I said, at 8, from my this is from how I remember it. 8, I was thrown in a football, and I was strong. We was talking about that the other day. I was
Yeah,
strong.
but
So
thrown in, you kind of raised your hand, but go ahead. I'm just
what you mean thrown in? Yeah, yeah. Literally, they grabbed me by my shoulder pads and threw me in because I was crying. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want any parts of football. And he said I cried until I was 10. Man, a brother don't remember that.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
before you got to go to practice. And you would cry in a variety of ways, you know what I mean?
really,
Like your
yeah,
mom would call, be like, he over here on the porch, it was always something.
for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I my subconscious like that right away. Um,
Yeah. It stopped early at the age of 10 though. Like when after you started football, we didn't have no more after that.
oh, I wasn't crying after that
Right.
for sure. Hey, I appreciate you throwing that in there. But but so I was playing football and I was good. That's what I remember. And then um, man, it was a lot of crap in the game. So I fast forward to, and we talked about this the other day. I fast forward to when I started rapping. Um, I think at that point I was in college. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big gap between 8 and college, but I might feel some of it more in. But I remember thinking like you was like, I'm selling these boys my music, and I always took it as you taking advantage of me.
Right.
But see, that support, and it wasn't like, hey, I was doing anything. Like looking back at it now, it's like I could have sold them if I wanted to make some bread, but it just was like I had so much angst against you. Um, and like I said, it was dealt to me in a way that wasn't straightforward. So Mon Dukes wasn't like, your dad ain't this or your dad ain't that. It would be like a look or a smirk or a comment that was from the like, oh, okay, yeah, that's how it's going down. And being around her for for so long, that stuff it gets in your psyche. I mean, you're a little kid, and that's kind of the primary person that you spend most of the time with. So looking back, it was not good, as far as my perception of you. It wasn't the best. So that's from 8 all the way into college. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. I remember we had the "Don't shoot me, shoot," and we got
Right.
into it there because for some reason, I I thought I was getting something for nothing. So we about to sell 1,000,000 shirts, and I had an attitude, and you know, it just I wasn't really as respectful, honestly, as I felt like I should be in this whole process. But I'm jumping around. So that was a little after I think college or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But what happened was, man, honestly, I just got fed up, you know. As soon as I decided, and this is crazy, but as soon as I decided to be actually independent and stop talking about it, being a millennial, being Mama's boy, you know, uh, our relationship has changed dramatically. So it's like now it's guidance. Now it's because a lot of that I suppressed a lot of who I was, that side of who I was, um, due to you. As far as my subconscious, I didn't want to be like you. I didn't want to, and I am, you know. But like I said, I suppressed it, and it's just like it was a large part of my life missing. But now again that I'm becoming and have become a man with my own, you know, set of morals or rules or code, it's like you're helping tremendously. And our relationship is fun, man. It's interesting. Um, but I'll end by saying this: it took me accepting the things that I was, and it's still not easy to say. But hey, you're mama's boy. Hey, you allowed these things to happen. Hey, you're deciding to live this way. These are your choices that you're making. It's your fault that you're still here. You know, I left but then came back. Um, so all of these decisions, I had to look dead in the face and say, you know, is this what you want to be, or this, you know, is this what you're gonna do? And when I decided to say nah and take off on my own and do my own thing, that's when you and I relationship, because I wanted to know what's going on with me. I wanted to know what are some decisions to make. I wanted to know what decisions you made, you know, thoughts, feelings, emotions, all type of stuff. And it's like talking to you is like talking to a 50-year-old me, you know, or, you know, just an older me, a person who been through some things, therefore can, you know, guide you. And that's what that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of cats, and this is my last point, but a lot of cats don't want to leave the crib or don't want to grow up or don't want to, you know, the whole millennial mindset where it's like they want it easy. And because I'm specifically for my demographic, which would be black males, you know, it's different. We have no guidance, you know, not all of us, but just those who are raised by their mothers or predominantly, and we just don't want to deal with the person, your father. But I'm telling you, if you kick it with them, you will learn more. Once you learn more, you'll feel more comfortable with, you know, attacking life or pursuing goals, and you know. But that's my story.
well, first of all, first of all, first of all, the truth of the matter is we got here because there was a lot of fasting and praying. It's the only way I believe that we were able to even get to this point. It was a lot. Um, for me, my story, I didn't a complete mess. right? Like young, uh, thinking I know everything, right? Following the prescription of a lot of bad advice. And then when you were born, I remember Aunt Nez, we was playing cards at Aunt Nez's house. And I had got a card that I was having a boy. And I jumped up from the table and I said, his name gonna be Two Man. He gonna be good at this, right? And for all my kids, I've always tried to speak life, right? Before they were even gotten here. All my kids were baptized while they were like literally. I had my brother come pray for all my kids, right? Except for, the situation with Keith. But, Kalam touched all my children, right? And before they could leave the hospital, the whole nine. That was just something, a tradition that I kept. And, for me, in my life, a lot had been taken away from me through sports, right? Through, not my father, the whole nine, not having a real strong relationship with my father. So, for me, it was just a decision that when I had sons, somehow, some way, like everybody else, you want to live vicariously through your children. Well, how do you do that, right? Well, being present is one. And so, when that was in jeopardy, it's a whole nother world. And I remember getting a call when you was in the 6th grade, right, to come get you. Now you coming to live with me, and at the time I was married. At the time I was married, and you come to live with me, and you got access, full basement, right? In that process, football. When you talk about football and sports, I always say there, win, lose, or draw. If you're on the team, as long as you're on the team, you fulfill, you get out of it what you're supposed to get out of it. If you're not a starter as a parent, what you want to do. I get all these tools. How can I help you be prepared? Right. So at the time I was coaching the whole nine. And when you're trying to be a parent, and you can only go off of some of the things that like I could only go off of how I was raised in the different areas, but there were some things that I knew for sure that I wasn't going to do with my kids, and one of them was hit them with an extension cord. Now I may have been physical with my children, as most people are, depending on what we consider physical. Discipline is a tool because as us as men, we just want respect. We want to be able to do the things that we do because that's our love. Respect is a man's love. And when you went off to college, and our relationship started going away. But when I first got to music, I kind of laughed when you didn't want me to hear the first song, right? But I remember you performing outside of the car. And the blessing about us is that music is natural to us. And if we ever just really focus, there would be an opportunity, right? So our family always looking for who gonna be that one. Well, hearing you, I'm like, wow, you know. So it was just another thing to be proud of, because I had, going through the issues that I was going through with it. It could break you. So being divorced twice, that's tough. And when you don't know how to handle it or deal with it, right? You yourself, you become emotional. You become, I considering that I've been helping men, right? I was literally learning how to handle myself by helping them. And whenever there was an interaction between you and I where it was where you had the disrespect or whatever, I always knew, and I always said, you just trying to find yourself, right? And so, even the one time when we was in Tone's backyard, like that, you know, and I get the call and you saying I ain't never do nothing for you, and it blew me out the seat. That was it was emotional because I was already dealing with a lot, right? Because my story, you know, no one really asked, right? So no one would really care, and um, you know, I was lucky to surround myself with some men or some other men who had kind of been through these same type of pains. What do we do, you know? And so every time you had an episode, even the, you know, I gotta say it, the bump joke, you know, right? You know what I mean? Even when you came with the whole the bump joke, you know what I mean? Like that was just shocking. I'm like, okay, you know, like really, what the hell, bump joke? You know what I mean? Like for real, right? So, but as a father in the position that I was in the situation, the only thing that really, and it might be tough to say this, but it was my kids is the only reason why. That's it. I didn't have anything else. And so
What you mean by your kids? You mean
I had
what
to
you mean?
stay, I had to have I had to be strong, right? Because I couldn't fold. I can't hurt myself. I can't harm myself. I can't tank. I can't go to prison. I can't be a dope fiend. I can't be a drug addict. I can't be an alcoholic. I can't be at the gas station. I can't fold because I can't allow them to see that. That's detrimental to my children. And like when we went to the church and I had found purpose, you was with me. And you saw Pastor Griffin stand up and say my name at the church. And I never had that experience. But it was what I lived for to get me to the next step because part of it was I believed all the negative things that people were saying about me, right? Until I found purpose. And when I found purpose, my life gave me a sense of calmness and strength that I never had, right? So I could learn to listen to you and take that. You know, I can take the disrespect because I know life, that's what life does, right? When I was a kid, you know, my mom said some things or whatever. Like I told you, when she told me I was just like my daddy, and I checked her I was 23. I checked her right there at the shop. You know what I mean? But then a couple of days later, nobody know I contemplate suicide. And so in that process, I had to fight. But to get to where we are today, like I told you the other day, man, I don't
Right.
know a greater feeling. I always wanted.
I see that though. And that's interesting because I never looked at it from that perspective. Like it's like you went through all that you went through so that you could have the chance to have a relationship with your kids.
Yeah,
I got a serious question though.
go for it.
Why do we have necks?
Why what?
Why don't we have necks?
What do you mean by next?
The space between your shoulders and your head.
Well, you know, it's funny.
Hey,
Because
I
of
see yours though.
right,
I see yours coming up.
right, because of the shoulders
Right.
and you know, the people we was made by, you know, like my dad, he had a neck,
That don't
right? He had a
that don't
neck.
even it don't even make sense no more. I mean, I can see your necklace separating from the bottom of your head.
Hey,
Like
listen, but I used to
you got a
be
neck.
right. I didn't have one. You know, Cam and Dominique don't let me up off that one photo. Like, this all right here. Well,
Yeah.
and it's diet. it's weight. You know, to call it what it is. We don't have necks because when we picked up that weight, and so it sits on our shoulders. We got them big chests, right? And that stuff sits on us like that. People always ask, man, you play football? When you tell them you play basketball, they be like, no way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But
So
uh, yeah, I clicked on your screen and I seen you found one. That's what's up.
yeah. I actually have a neck now, right? Right. I most definitely got to keep going, so the rest of my neck appears.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah. What that's what's up. What did you have some questions? You said.
Well, like for you, you know, in where you are in your epiphany, right? And you're discovering how important that part of you, right? And the reason why, like I told you, the reason why we mentor is to try to navigate the second part, to bring up that part of a kid, because we're not functioning from our fullness. So, you know, for you, what was it like, right? For you to discover, right? Like it's actually a whole me, because that the confidence is in November, that wasn't a look in your eyes, you know. Now the look in your eyes is confidence, strength. So that means it's a complete you. You've arrived to a completion of yourself. So what day was that? What was that like to discover your wholeness?
Um. I can't even put my finger on it. I would say again when I was doing the self-esteem writings where it asks you self-acceptance to me means, and so you do that for a week and you're supposed to answer off the cuff the first thing that comes to your mind. And it was just accepting all those things that I was saying in the beginning, like you're a mama's boy, you don't have a plan, you know. And then when it came to women, like the approach to the talk to what's going on with them, understanding, because to me again, for me as an individual, the leader, if I wanted to lead, because that's all I've ever wanted to do was to lead. And if I'm going to lead, I have to understand what's going on in the room. There's always these underlying things that were going on around me that I just didn't understand because I was such a nice guy. I hadn't experienced life. I wasn't in certain situations. You know, I just was sheltered. I sheltered myself. Um, I allowed myself to be sheltered. And when I started to like focus on that area of my life, it kind of, it made me more confident or more just aware of what's going on. Like, okay, I know what's going on with this situation. I know, you know, I just hated it. I hated walking in rooms and feeling like I don't know what's going on. And then I'll just go to when it came to you and uh, it was that thought that also got Keith to understand. It was, hey, when you were young and you had me, what would I have done? I never looked at the other perspective. I never looked at it from your perspective. And when I looked at it from your perspective, I was like, oh man, dude is way better than I would have been. Whoa, that was eye opening.
Right.
And it seemed like it opened up my little brother's eyes when I told him the same thing. He was like, he didn't say it, but you see, he was open to more things when it's
Right.
put that way. And so I was like, oh, I gotta give this brother a chance, man. I've been way too hard on him because if it was me, if the roles was turned, it would have been real bad. So that helped me gain a lot of respect and just to open up, And then it was something else that kind of twisted. You also have been changing too, like you said. your willingness to listen, your willingness to you've I mean, we all are, if you want to, everybody should continue to grow and mature. But it was significant. That also helped. It was like, not only am I realizing that I was wrong, you had come to a place where you could accept it. Like you were willing to, it was just, you were willing to receive, and you always were, but it seemed like you picked up some tools to allow you to do it better. Listening and sympathy and stuff like that. So I think it was the combination of those two things
Yeah.
when it comes to you and I.
Well, I think when part of it was when you come to a realization for yourself that, man, you're a good person, right?
Right.
Like you are essentially really a good person. You just have been in these situations and decision making that really affected you, right? And then understanding that when you don't have anything, you don't have no place, and right? And you really, who you got to take a look at? Got to take a look at yourself, right? So all these things are happening. Who you got to take a look at? You got to take a look at yourself, right? Because that's the self-worth, the self-esteem, the self-evaluation, right? Like I was telling you, who the first person you lie to? Yourself. So as soon as you try to put yourself on another pedestal, right? You telling yourself, right? The truth kind of creeps in there. The truth kind of creeps in there. It's like, oh, yeah, you said you was all of this, but here you go. Here's what you really are.
Right.
And for me to come to the realization of who I was, there was a lot of bad, but there was a whole lot of good, right? And where I started recognizing my good was old classmates telling me stories, friends calling and explaining to me how I help, all these people recognizing, like I was telling you, go back and look at the things that you have done, right? And so it was the people recognizing how many people I was helping at the airport, and what I was doing, you know what I mean, and how many kids and what was their story. And so doing these things what it seemed like you was doing them for a reason, it really was who you are, right? And so when I call myself going to be
Right.
when I call myself going to be the comedian and discovering how many kids were in trouble and seeing, okay, well, okay, Corin, what's up? Man, look at all these kids. And Corin like, hey man, you got all that experience coaching and don't be a part of the problem. Then Big Will calling, hey, what's up? Oh man, remember you said you was gonna do that clothesline, right? All right. Me and you, we go to church. All this happening at the same time. But at the same time, dealing with some things where I wasn't up on proper things on how to treat people, right? How to really be an authentic husband and, how to care and love. There were some things that I lacked, right? And so where I am now is because I read so much and I gained so much and I got so much good in my life at this particular point. And I've been shown, right, to pay attention to some things. But more importantly, like I started this conversation, it really was praying and fasting because all my answers came through those windows. If I wasn't, I don't think we would even be here. And that's just how it is. I that's what I hung to, clung to or hung on to because that's what showed me where I was headed. It was when me and JD was in Ohio and I was laughing in my dreams. I was fasting. It was God showing me, and so um being truthful to yourself, it takes work. And when you don't have guidance or you don't have someone, right? You can go to the different people, the whole nine, but sometimes you take their information and you kind of judge it when you're not right. And right, I know I didn't want the same information, the whole be a player, you got to be a player, that whole, I wanted nothing to do with that, right? I didn't want to repeat that formula because that formula it hurt. So in that process, I had to only work on cab. So writing, singing, acting, helping, kind of help cultivate Calvin. And that's how I was able to see against all the attacks that I was going. It is crazy if you had to show it when you're being attacked. No one sees the attack; they just don't care. So you take that part, but they don't see how it really affects you, right? When people telling you and beating you down, it's because of pain.
So we about to switch it up. So what's the next question, or do you have another?
No, no. I mean, what you want? What's on your mind?
No, I just wanted to stay on topic. Whatever topic we going.
Yeah, I mean, however you feel. You know what I mean? I just think it's important that this being the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and we doing it face to face. In the past we just on the phone. So now I get to see your bold hairline like you see mine.
Right.
Right.
Nah, man. Like I don't know. Like yeah, I appreciate it because we talk a lot, and like me and you, like you talk about. I think that's maybe that's the next thing is to just talk about the importance of. I think whatever happens or whatever happened with you and your pops, especially for young black guys, um, I'm a strong believer now in getting the information because they are like you. You're half of them, and you're missing so much by not having a relationship or having conversations at the least with your dad, due to whatever, if it's manipulation, if it's um I don't know, he don't want to talk to you or whatever it may be. I say, pursue that with as much as you can because you can learn so much about yourself with just a conversation or two with your pops, man.
Yeah, and the great part is me and your mom, we co-parented, right? And we wasn't perfect. We didn't have a guide. We didn't have the co-parenting guide for two. We didn't have
You
that.
didn't have the co-parenting guide.
Right. We didn't have that. But we did, and we got it to the point to even we kind of laughed at when you graduated from college. It was like, wow, like we did it. You know, we kind of looked at each other and was like, we did it. And that's why I still say your mom is one of my friends. There's no question. And it's just, like you said, I think what you're saying is true that a lot of people, I hear the different stories from different men where they went and had the conversation with their fathers, but somehow they were looking for what you and I have, and I think, I don't think that everyone has the, I guess, the patience and the information, right, that you and I have. Like the one thing that I can say that you and I do is we read, right? And so a lot of people don't have the information that we have, right? So we're constantly looking for the different tools from A to Z, and that's just something that we do. But uh, not everyone wants that because sometimes you're being told that this is how it is, and when you see them in a bad way, I think sometimes we assume, right? We assume that because I see you in this downtrodden way, maybe anything they said about you was true. right? So if I see my father, so to speak, in a negative way, he's down, or he ain't this, he a bum, he ain't got a job, or you know, well, find out what got him there, right? At least ask him, because the very gifts that you have in you literally came from within him as well. So you got to find out, why is he there? So what's
But
the
from a different perspective, I think that my generation and people younger than me do have a better grasp of mental health, or understanding things, and it's socially acceptable to be that way. But I still think that that's a lot to put on somebody who's younger than you, and not only younger than you, that you created, to have them be the bigger person and to search it out. Now, I think the way you putting it is right, where it's like, do it for yourself, and that may be the message, like, do figure that stuff out for you. It's vitally important, because you hurting and you don't understand yourself or what's going on with you, maybe in a particular area. And if you talk to the other half of you, you'll get some more understanding.
Yeah, but that's being honest with yourself. See, that's knowing, like you said, you was looking and taking a look at yourself, right? And so me, when I see this person, I have to have been honest with myself, because life is going to remind you, which is exactly some of the things that happen to you. Life is going to remind you, right? And if that person is gone, like I told you, man, I wish I could be on the phone. Could have been on the phone with my dad at 31. My dad was gone at 24. I'm 24. No, I'm fatherless at 24. Gone. We was just had put up paneling and did some things and was talking, but by the age of 24, he died of an aneurysm. So then by 30, my mom gone. So you know what I mean? Like, and then some people it happened too younger. So then, like, you can't make the excuse and you can't do those types of things, but where do you get your information? Right? So,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna make all these mistakes. And like I told you, one of the things that I never wanted for my kids is having children out of wedlock. That was huge to me. It was huge. As a little boy, that's how I felt. Right? And so you being where you are, the age you are, and there's no kid. Listen, I'm through the roof for you.
Yeah. Guess who else is through the roof?
Exactly.
Nah,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Exactly. So, that's I think that's a good way to, you know, kind of like end it. It's a good start. Um,
And
sharing.
that's just me though. I know you had that for me, but if I had the desire and was like, man, from Jump Street, I want a family, then I mean, it would have been what it is. But at the same time, I mean, we do what we want to do. So I think it's just our goals aligned in that area.
Yeah. And you got a good shot of DNA. Can't beat that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So that's I think that's what most of us want for our kids. You know, and in this society where fathers, in the conversation around fatherhood and the conditioning of society, the types of things, I think for me, when this is good, right? Because the conditioning and the answering and the conditioning of what we think about fathers, right? um, Subconsciously we don't even realize some of our actions is against our own fathers, but we don't realize it's in the books, the magazines, the TV shows, the cop shows, the movies, the news media.
So dogging dad. It's easy to dog dad.
Yeah.
How you feel about we saving that for the next one?
How the dog dad? I'm with it.
How to dog, how to dog, how to dog
This
your
is
dad.
how you dog your father.
Just
Right.
wake up. It'll
Yep.
come naturally.
It comes naturally. You've already been trained.
It comes. It
Yep.
comes naturally.
Yeah. You've already been trained. So, but yeah, I think, taking a look at how I think that's a good one.
All right, so we'll pick it up there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's it. Got pop. See, I got one. I hope you like them.
We did it. Yeah, we did it.
Cause I do.
Yeah. Love you too, son.
Love you too, Dad.
All right, bud.
Send me the MP4, please, so I can edit it.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.